Myself, A. Krishna Chaitanya, Department of IT, Assistant Professor. Today's session, we discuss web technologies, topic, basics of XML and XML DTD, document type, definition. So first we'll discuss basics of XML. Next we'll discuss DTD, XML, DTD. So first of all, basics of XML. So what is XML? XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. It is a text-based markup language derived from standard generalized markup language. So what is a markup language means? To create any web page, so you have to use tags. So that is start tag and end tag. In between that, you have to write the text. So whenever using elements or tags, that is start tag and end tag, for designing the web page, there we have that we call as markup language. Right? One of the markup languages is HTML, hypertext markup language, that is used to create static web pages. As well as we have one more markup language is XML, extensible markup language. Extensible markup language. So what is the use of this one? XML is used to design, to store and transport the data. So it is designed to store and transport the data. So HTML is to display the data. So whatever we written in body section, that is displayed in web page. Here XML is used to store and transport the data and organizing the data. So organizing means we can insert, we can delete, we can modify, we can transfer the data between client and server. So XML is used to describe the structure of a document, not the way that is presented. So it is describing the structure of a document. So what data to store, that is describing by XML document. But HTML is used to present the data. What data to present? So XML is the recommendation of World Wide Web Consortium. So that is recommended by W3C. So some of the transaction data, which is we call it as textual data. So in real time, many of applications, for every millisecond, large amount of data is generated. So how to manage that data? So that is possible by using XML. So for storing and transferring data between client and server for fastly, we can use the databases like XML. So we have many database applications are there, they are dependent. But XML is independent compared to all languages. So if you are storing the data in XML, we can transfer the data very fastly, we can retrieve the data fastly, right, which we have in textual format. So some of the transaction data in real time, they can use in sales and shares, financial transactions, medical data, scientific measurements, weather services, news information. So these are the transactional data. For every millisecond, the data is changes. So how to manage this type of data? So how to store, how to retrieve data very fastly? That is possible by using XML, that is extensible markup language. So for example, weather services. For every second, the weather can be changed based on the pollution, based on the time. So based on the weather, so data values or changes. Air quality. As well as news. Coming to news information. For every second, the news are updating, the textual format. How to manage this data? So that is possible by using XML. That is extensible markup language. So finally, the XML was designed to store and transport the data between client and server applications. So there are three important characteristics of XML that makes it useful in a variety of systems and solutions. First one is XML is extensible. XML allows you to create your own self-descriptive tags or language that suits your application. So you can define user-defined tags in XML. You can write your own tag name. Based on the application, you can write your own tag or element name. For example, I want to store the first name. So no need of using predefined tag. We can use here user-defined tag, that is fname, that is starting tag and end tag, fname. But in HTML, we have to use predefined tags. But in XML, we can use user-defined tags. So that is the main advantage. Based on application, we can use user-defined tags or element names. XML carries the data, does not present it. XML allows you to store the data irrespective of how it will be presented. So here in XML, it is used to store and transfer the data. So not explaining about how to present the data. So here XML is how to store and transfer the data. So here we are in the HTML, we are what data is displaying is important. But here what data is storing in XML, it is representing. Next, XML is a public standard. XML was developed by an organization called the World Wide Web Consortium and is available in an open standard. So that is the standard by W3C and it is freely available, XML. XML usage. XML can be used to exchange the information between organizations and systems. So wherever we have large amount of data, where we are maintaining textual data, large amount of, in that organizations, we can use XML for storing and transferring the data. XML can work behind the scene to simply the creation of HTML document for large websites. XML can be used for offloading and reloading of databases. For fastly, you want to manage your database, for storing or retrieving, fastly you want to do, then you can use XML. Other than database like MySQL or Oracle, right? Other than that, or Excel. Other than that, we can use XML for fast maintaining of your data, for storing and retrieving. XML can be used to store and arrange the data, which can customize your data handling needs. XML can easily be merged with style sheet to create almost any desired output. So you can also add or embed styles to your XML document and we can represent your data attractively. So these are the usage of XML. So finally, you can understand what is the difference between XML and HTML. The first difference is it stores and transports the data. XML. HTML is it displays the data. So XML, by using XML, we can store and transport the data. So we can also manage the data by using XML. But HTML is only will displays the data. Here XML, we are telling what data we are storing. Based on your application, we are storing the data. But in HTML, it does not need what data you are displaying. In XML, it uses user-defined tags. In HTML, predefined tags. XML, we can declare our user own tags based on understandable by human or machine, that we can use the user tag names, right? User-defined tag names. But in HTML, that you have to use predefined tags on. For example, body, HTML, head, title, all that are predefined tags. That tags only can use. We can't write user-defined tags in HTML. It contains structural data, XML. It does not contain any structural data. So we have to we can store the data in well-structured form. So they will maintain hierarchically root, child, subchild, leaf nodes. Right? We have to maintain the hierarchy. So another difference is XML is case sensitive and HTML is in case sensitive. Case sensitive means in XML we are using tag name, so end tag and start tag must be same. We can't use this name is same name but different cases. For example, age. So age we written in small letters the start tag and the end tag capital it not allowed in XML. So both must be small letters only, small letters. That is case sensitive, right? Age. So this one is correct. In XML, age starting character is small and here also it is smaller. So the start tag and end tag must be same. Suppose you are writing different means that treats it as a different element names. So that is in XML. XML is case sensitive. HTML is in case sensitive. That means you can write in all capital or small, it treats same only. Next, it maintains spacing, tabs, new lines and other white spaces formatting. HTML, it does not maintain white spaces. XML needs to have an end tag. HTML does not need an end tag. So in XML, wherever you written start tag, you have to close the end tag also. But HTML, some tags, no need of writing end tags. For example, img tag. Another example, br tag. So no need of end tags, right? Then also it will show your output in HTML. But in XML, that is mandatory. You have to give start tag and end tag. Next, so this is a basic structure of XML. You have to write for any XML document. There must be root. Under that we have child. Under that we have subchild. So the same way, first of all, you have to close subchild, next child, and finally you have to close the root. Right? This is a hierarchy you have to follow in XML document. So everything in XML we call as elements. Sometimes we call also nodes. Otherwise we can call XML tags. So root we can call as element, tag, or node. Right? So how to write this tag? In between angular brackets, left angular and right angular. In between that you have to write your element name. Okay, this is simple structure of XML document. How to save this file? So file name dot XML, right? XML dot XML, right? So that is simple hierarchy you have to follow in XML. So simple example for XML, how to write or how to store and transfer the data, right? So the first line to identify by the browser, this is XML document, means that you have to write prologue. This one is prologue. So you have to start with left angular bracket, question mark, XML space, version is equal to 1.0 and encoding is equal to UTF-8. That means the XML, the current we are using version 1.0 and encoding is equal to UTF-8. That means we are using or converting the entire text in encrypted form in 8-bit. That means the entire text is converted into zeros and ones in 8-bit format. So what is this UCS transformation format? UCS transformation format. UCS means Universal Character Set Transformation Format. So entire text, what are you written in XML document is converted into 8-bit character. 8-bit character, that is zeros and 1. 8-bit, so that will convert into 8-bit, that is zeros and ones. Zeros and ones, right? So that is a prologue you have to write the first line, and comment lines you can write left angular bracket, negation symbol, double hyphen. In between that we can write the text and end with double hyphen greater than symbol, right angular bracket. In between that you have to write the comment lines, right? So the first line is prologue. So when you open in browser, then this The browser can understand by seeing the first line, this is an XML document. XML document. So here root is college, child is student detail, and subchild is name. In that name, we have another subchilds, right? That is first name and last name. So first of all, you have to close leave sub elements or sub child nodes. That is first name, you have to close, and last name. In between that, you have to write the text. After that, you have to close name. After that, you have to close that root node, the student detail, right? Finally, you have to close root node. Root node, that is college. So college is here element or node. So that is root node. In that child is student detail. In that subchild is name. Okay. So like that we can write in hierarchical order. Hierarchical order. So the building blocks of XML document. So elements, so entities, C data, attributes, PC data. So these are building blocks of XML document. So before seeing this, you'll see simple example how to write and how to create XML document. Right. So we have to start with question mark XML version is equal to, in between double quotes you have to write 1.0, and encoding is equal to UTF in capital letters, you have to write -8 and close with question mark right angular bracket and save this file, right? For example, first dot XML. The XML files, the extension is .xml, right? And select here all files, and save it, right? Based on your application, you can create the element names. Suppose I am inviting friend for my birthday party. Then I can use the element names, invitation, and close the element. Next sub element is to whom I am calling, and one more sub element is from whom we are sending. Suppose my name is Krishna, I am sending the message to friend to Vijay, right? And message don't miss this weekend my birthday party. Okay, and close the message. So this is the invitation, right? And save this file. Save this file. So here root is invitation. In the sub elements or child nodes are from to message, right? And save this file. Save this file. Go to the desktop, right? Desktop, and our file name is first. So open with. So here not encoding. Just save this file and do refresh. See here you get the output. So here we store the information about invitation, and we store the sub elements from, to, and my message, right? So here root node is invitation and subchild is from. Root node is invitation, child is from, and subchild is to and message, right? So like that we can write XML document. We can create the XML document, right? So that will store in hierarchical form, right? So root is invitation and child nodes are from, to, message. Okay. So here we can see, right? So like this we can call any number of, right, friends and invitations we can create. Okay. Just save this file. So one more example you can see, right? Employee. So employee, employee ID, employee name, employee age, employee. So here root element is employee and we are storing the employee details, right? So we can save another employee information, right? So 1202 Ramesh 35. So these are sub childs and we create one more root node employees and close the employees. Here we restored here two employees information. Save this file and open this document, right? See here two employees details. So this one is first employee and this one is second employee and root node is employees, right? So like this we can create any number of employees. As well as we can also give attributes for this employee for identification. For each employee, ID is equal to 1. That means for this employee, attribute is ID is equal to 1. So what is the use of attribute? We can give the more properties or more features of that employee, right? So like that we can add for second employee also. ID is equal to 2. Right? Just save this file and do refresh. Right? So like this we can display the XML document. So this XML data can access by any other languages. So XML document is independent. Any language like Java, .NET, right? PHP, they can access this data whichever you stored in XML document. Right? So some building blocks already we discussed, right? Elements. So in XML, so whatever you're using, right, that we call as elements or nodes or tags, right? Each element you have to write in between angular brackets. So this is simple example, right? So in this example, node, node, message is the elements. Next, entities. So we can't write the left less than symbol, greater than symbol directly. So if you are using less than symbol, that what is the meaning? That is starting of your tag. So we can't use, if you are using comparing the numbers 5 less than 6, like that we can't write directly. So behalf of these symbols, we have to use entity reference, that is ampersand LT semicolon. So when you execute or open the XML document, the XML parser will pass it and replace their value or the symbol is less than symbol. So this one we call, it is converted by XML parser. So the less than symbol. Ampersand GT, greater than symbol. Ampersand AMP, ampersand symbol. Quote, double quote. And APOS, single quote. So these are the entities reference, entities, right? So in XML, we can't use, right, these symbols directly we can't write. So we have to use entity references. Okay. Next, attributes. Attributes provides an extra information about elements. In XML, we can also add attributes. So in previous example, we saw on employee space ID is equal to 1. So that is the extra feature about that employee, right? How to add that attributes means, so by using, right, in where you have to write in element before closing, write the attribute name, assignment operator and value. The value must be in double quotes. Always it will be double quotes. Okay. So inside the opening tag you have to write. So syntax of attribute is in DTD, ATT list, element name, attribute type, attribute value. So simple example, right? So ATT list. Payment is the element name. And type is the attribute name. So you are paying the payment either by cash or by check. So that is either you can pay by cash or check only. So here you have to specify, that is mandatory, That means you have to specify type is equal to check. Check means by check we are giving the amount or cash, right? Suppose you're not giving any value, then default value is the cash. Okay. So like this we can add the attributes in your DTD, right? Next, so value is the default value. This is the default value. Suppose you're not given any attribute list in your element, then it takes default value. Next, required. Suppose here you return hash required. That means that is mandatory. You have to give the value in your element. Implied. This attribute is optional. There is no forcible, right? Mandatory giving the attribute value or attribute. Hash fixed value. The attribute value is fixed, right? Suppose our organization is some X, so the value is fixed, right? So then you have to use here the type is type check cache. In place of here you have to write hash fixed. For example, Microsoft. Suppose you're not given the company name. By default, it takes the Microsoft. Okay. So that is use of hash fixed, right? Hash fixed. So these are the attribute, the building blocks. We have elements, entity reference, attributes, PC data. PC data means parsed character data. So PC data, okay. So some data text you given in between elements that you have to parse it. For example, right, ampersand LT given, LT, ampersand LT. That means less than symbol. So directly you will not get. So you have to give PC data, hash PC data. That means parsing the character data, right? So before displaying the output, that must be parsed, right? That we call as parsed character data. Next, C data. That means character data. That will not parse by XML parser. What are you given? That is displayed to output stream. Or in XML document, it will show. Okay. Right. That about some basics of XML document. How to create and how to display the content in your browser. So XML finally used to store and transporting the data. In many client server application, the XML is used for storing and managing the data, right? Next topic is DTD, document type definition. The XML document type declaration, also we call as declaration, right? Or definition, commonly known as DTD, is a way to describe XML language precisely. Describes how the structure must be. What is the hierarchy you have to follow? What are the first element, sub-element, sub-element that you have to describe the structure. So that is describing by DTD, document type definition, right? DTDs check vocabulary and validity of the structure of XML document. So what do you use of DTD? It also check vocabulary and validity of the structure of XML document. So it will check whether it is a well-formed document or not, valid document or not. It will check if you are using DTD, right? Against grammatical rules of appropriate XML language. So whether you're following grammar rules or not, that also check by using DTD. So once you are telling it is a well-structured form and a valid XML document means that you have to include DTD in your XML document, right? So there are two types of DTD, that is internal DTD and external DTD. Internal DTD means a DTD is referred to as an internal DTD if elements are declared within the XML files in the same document, XML actual data and DTD if you are writing in same document, that we call as internal DTD. Next, second type is external DTD. In external DTD, elements are declared outside the XML file. Also, what is the structure we have that is declared outside of your XML file, that we call as external DTD. and you have to save that file with .dtd file, and you have to link that DTD file to your XML document, right? So there are two types of DTD we have. One is internal DTD and second one is external DTD. So that is used to check vocabulary and validity of your XML document structure. And also it will check grammatical rules, whether you are following or not. If you are not following that structure, then it displays the error, or it will not display your output if you written any wrongly. Okay. So first we'll see about internal DTD. A DTD is referred to as internal DTD if elements are declared within the XML file. So the syntax for DTD, internal DTD is you have to start with less than symbol, negation symbol, doc type. In capital letters, you have to write doc type. That means we can understand here we written DTD, right? So the starting is less than, negation, doc type, and the root element name, and DTD identifier. Whether the DTD is in the same system or in the internet, that you have to specify by using, right, DTD identifier. For internal DTD, the same DTD will be in the same document, no issue. So no need of writing. This one is optional, no need of writing. For external DTD, we have to specify whether the external DTD document is in same system or in the public. Private or public, you have to specify, right? So that is the third one. So doc type space root element space DTD identifier. So open the square bracket and close the square bracket, right angular. In between that, you have to declare the element names. What are the elements you are going to use in your XML document, and hierarchy order that you have to declare in between the square brackets. Right? That is simple syntax for internal DTD. Right? So this one is doc type, that is reference to it is starting DTD, and the root element, and the DTD identifier. You have to specify the external, for external DTD you have to specify whether the DTD file in same system or in the public or in the internet. And between the square brackets, you have to declare the element names. So simple example for internal DTD. So this one is prologue, already we discussed. So these are the DTD, internal DTD. Right? See here, we have started with doc type. Root node is note. In this example, the root node is note, open with square bracket. So how to declare the elements means, so root element, left angular bracket, exclamation symbol, element must be in capital letters. Node is a root. Under that node root, we have child nodes are to, from, heading, body. These are the child nodes. So root node is node. Under that we have child nodes are to, from, heading, body. Again you have to declare the elements child nodes also. You have to start with left angular bracket, exclamation symbol, element, space. The first element is 2, and between parentheses hash PC data. Hash PC data means pass character data. So whatever written between this text, in between this element, start and end to element, you have to pass the data, right? That's why you given here hash PC data. That is the data type, right? Next one is from, heading, body. So this is internal DTD. So you have to follow this structure. The root node is node and child nodes are to, from, heading and body, right? So simple example here, this is XML document, right? See here, node is the root, 2 is the child node, we written here value is TOVE, top, and from, Johnny, heading, reminder, right? Body, don't forget me this weekend, right? So close the body first of all, right? And close the node. that root node and save this file with extension .xml. Suppose you change here capital BODY, immediately the browser will check the DTD, the XML parser will check whether we have following the internal DTD or not, document type definition. So here it is capital letter BODY, but in structure you given small BODY, it's not matching. So immediately it shows error or it will not display the output in browser. So it is taken care by XML parser, right? So as well as suppose you are using new element, for example date. For example, I'm using here date 15/07/2021. The date also I'm specifying /date. So new element. So it will check in internal DTD whether that element is available or not. If it is not available, immediately shows the error. Right? You have to follow that structure. Right? So like this, it will validate your XML document, and it also tells well structured form or not. If you are following this XML DTD, then we can tell that is well structured document and valid XML document. Valid XML document. Right? So that is our internal DTD. You are writing the DTD in same XML document. Then we call it as internal DTD. Right? Next, external DTD. In external DTD, elements are declared outside the XML file. They are accessed by specifying the system attributes, which may be either the legal.ddd file or a valid URL. So you have to separate the actual DTD structure and XML document, right? So you have to link this to DTD and XML document by using system, right? By using system. See here, same like internal DTD, we have to start with, right? First we have to write prologue. Next we have to start with negation, left angular bracket, negation, doc type, space, node, space, system. The capital letter we have to write. Where is in XML file? So system space node DTD.DTD. If you are using here system means it is private DTD file. That means it is in same system. Okay. So given here node DTD.DTD. That also in the same document. So that is system. Suppose you written here public, then it represents here the external DTD is in external for it is in internet. You have to specify the URL, right? If you're writing here behalf of system, if you're writing public, you have to search in internet for this DTD file. Okay. So remaining node is the root, and childs are to, from, heading, body, and close the node. So it following the structure, whether it is well formed and valid XML document or not, that you have to check in node.dtd. So node.dtd contains actual structure of XML document. So which one we have to use root, which one is subchild that we have to specify here, right? Suppose you're not following any rules, it will show the error in Eclipse. Otherwise, if you are using normal notepad like that, it will not show your output in your browser. Okay. Right. So external DTD. You have to write separately DTD file and XML document. How to link these two means by using system identifier, DTD identifier. So that is system space, that is DTD file. So you have to save this file with .dtd. Okay. So either we can use that DTD identifier, private or public. So private external DTD means you can use here system and your DTD file, right? That is private external DTD. Suppose public external DTD means behalf of that system, you have to write here public, and you have to specify your URL of your DTD. Right? So some symbols are displaying means ISO. the DTD is an ISO standard, all ISO standards are approved. So before that public, you have specifying ISO, then it following all your ISO standards. Plus symbols means the DTD is an approved non-ISO standard. Non-ISO standard. If you are displaying minus, the DTD is unapproved non-ISO standard. Okay. So here it is displaying before URL. Suppose you displaying here minus means the DTD is unapproved non-ISO standard. So simple example we can see for internal DTD. See here we have products information. So this one is internal DTD. About products we are storing. So root node is products. Under that we have on product. Again product we have sub elements, PID, PName1, price, description, stock. So each element you have to declare the structure, right? For all, and close the square bracket greater than symbol. So root node is products. Under that we have product and PID, PName, price, description, iStock product. So like that we can store any number of products. In this example, we given 3 products. Okay. So it must follow this structure. Okay. Save this file and open this in internal DTD in your browser. Right. So like this we'll get. So 3 products we have in hierarchical format. Right. In again product we have subchains. Right. Each product. Suppose I changed here some value PID1 for example, and try to save this file and do refresh. Right. So you got not get output because the root element is here, the child node is PID, but I started here PID1. So that is structure is not matching. So internal DTD is not valid. So it is not a well structured format. It is not a valid XML document, right? Which is not following XML internal DTD, right? So it's not showing your output. So that is the error. As well as suppose you try to use small letters PID, then also you will not get your output, right? So you have to follow this rules, right? So this one is internal DTD, and if suppose you are writing this part in a separate file and saving with .dtd, that is external DTD, right? So for example, for external DTD, right? So this is XML document. You're writing system node.dtd. So my DTD file is node.dtd and version is 1.0. And we can also write here encoding. So small letters you have to use. Encoding is equal to UTF -8. Close that. Close with question mark greater than symbol. Save this file. So what is my DTD file? Node.dtd. So this structure is declared in the node.dtd. So it is I'm using private. So system identifier you have to use. Otherwise you can use here private. Okay. Suppose it is a DTD file in internet, then you have to use that URI, right? URI. So what is the node.dtd? Open with. Just open this. So this no need of writing doc type anything. Just write that elements and that structure and save this file with .dtd and link here this XML document to this XML document, right, with node.dtd. That's so external DTD. Suppose you are using public. Here you have to specify capital letters. You have to write public and that URL. So which is available in internet, the DTD, that URL you have to write. Right. So you understand in this session, right? Basics of XML and XML DTD. So XML DTD again we have 2 types. That is internal DTD and external DTD. Okay. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.